Hi everyone, my name is Sumaya Ahmed and I am the Virtual Content Specialist for 7th grade Science. This video will discuss the challenges students can face while conducting research for research projects and how to help develop student research skills using a guided handout. So let's start with discussing why we should ensure students have the necessary skills to conduct research. First, on the internet, students have access to a plethora of resources. Some information may be false and others may be inappropriate for a student in a certain age group. So, for in-person learning, the schools have a firewalls feature, which can be helpful for blocking inappropriate websites for research. However, at home, students may not have that firewall feature and there may be inappropriate websites that they come across. So it is important for us teachers to be mindful of that while we are assigning research projects. So second, students tend to make rush decisions while doing research. So they want their answers right away and they make an immediate decision on whether to use the information or not, rather than carefully evaluate the information itself. Next, students do not question the reliability of the sources. They are under the impression that everything on the internet is true and accurate, and unfortunately, that is not the case. Lastly, students do not properly comprehend the information. They may just find a few words they understand and just use that source without truly understanding the essence of the information presented in the resource. So there are obviously other challenges, but these are the general challenges which I have experienced throughout the years. And these can all lead to the following outcomes here, in addition to other outcomes. Uh, Either students end up plagiarizing the information from the resource, which you will know about because you will see their style of writing um, throughout their classwork or assessments. And this will produce no learning outcomes for students because ultimately they're just copying and pasting information from different sources, maybe changing around a few words, but they're not learning or understanding any of the information. And this will make them confused because all they are doing is restating and not processing and understanding the information. So we do not want this for our students. And this is why it is so important to teach students the skills before conducting a research project. So on this slide, I have a sample research guide to guide students through the research process. So first, choose a sample article to use this guide for. And the title of this article is Biodiversity in the Tropical Andes, How it is being threatened and why we should care and how we can fix it. So it was written by this author and published in 2017. So this is divided into three components: reliability, trustworthiness, and usefulness. So I created this as a checklist because it can help students check off the statements and see whether this is something that they can use for their projects. So I suggest doing this together as a class and modeling how to use this guide for students in the beginning of the school year and giving students another practice article with this guide. So maybe this would be something that they can use, and perhaps giving students another article which is not reliable or has false information and having them use this same research guide, and ultimately showing them that since all these check boxes are not filled out, such as the trustworthiness, usefulness, or readability, since they're not filled out, then they should not consider using that resource. So I suggest using it for a resource that they can use and using it for a resource that they cannot use. So first we have the readability section, which is the most important. If students do not have these boxes checked off, then encourage them to not continue with this resource and move on to another source that they can use for their project. So the questions they should be asking themselves are here. again, in checkboxes where they can check off for each box. For this section, the first question is, or the first statement is, I understand almost all the information presented in this resource. Now, I put almost all because there may be certain things that they are confused about, which they can ask the teacher to clarify for them, and then it will help them understand the article, and that is fine. The next statement is, I feel comfortable reading this and I am not confused. And this last question is very important. So encourage them to read through the resource 1 or 2 times. And then, without looking at this resource, I can summarize information accurately in 3 to 4 sentences. So this is maybe something that they can work with a partner for. Maybe they can read through the article or resource and close their eyes, or just turn away and see if they can summarize the information accurately in 3 to 4 sentences. If that's something that they cannot do, that means that they may not understand what that resource is for, or what the information in the resource is telling them. And again, this was important because it will truly show the teacher whether the students understand the information presented to them. And over here, this is optional. You can give them lines to write down their summary of the resource or article. And again, this is a resource for the students too, their summary, so they can go back to it and use it for the project later on. So once all those boxes are checked off, they can move on to the trustworthiness section. And the statements here include, this source has an organization name, author name, and publisher name. I can find at least one more source with similar information. There is copyright information on the bottom of the page. And when was this written? I put an asterisk here for the date of when this was written, because it depends on the type of resource or the type of project. For example, for certain historical sources, the date will be much older, which is fine for that type of assignment. And the last section here is the usefulness of the resource. And the statements read, I can use at least 2 pieces of information from the source to support my claim or research. And this resource has information I am looking for. So if the assignment has guiding questions and the answer is there, then this would be a great resource for them to use. So again, this is a sample guided handout to teach students how to properly do research. This would be great to start off the year with, so students will have the skills and practice the skill throughout the year as they do further research assignments. If you want to look further into the research behind this, you can check out this article from Reading Rockets called Guiding Independence, Developing a Research Tool to Support Student Decision-Making in Selecting Online Information Sources. So here they discuss the research-based strategies on how to help students hone in on this skill, and they conducted a study with elementary school students and did a pre and post test to show the effectiveness of teaching students these research skills. And I'm going to scroll down to a part of their study. So as you can see here, this is just a graph that they have based on their study. And as you can see, that many students were able to use the guided strategies and improve their ability to evaluate a resource. So this was an interesting read, and I will put the link for this article in the description box if you want to check it out. To summarize, starting a research project can be challenging for both students and teachers. Students may come across false information or a very difficult resource, which will make them confused and possibly lead them to plagiarize because they don't fully understand the information. This is challenging for teachers as well, because while grading their work, if most of their work is plagiarized or has false information or does not come from a reliable source, it will be difficult to truly assess their learning. So for these reasons, I highly encourage to help students develop these skills on how to evaluate the reliability, trustworthiness, readability, and usefulness of a resource to use for their research projects. Thanks for watching.